Hey there, in this video we are going to do a two-stage window tint on a 2014 Toyota 4Runner. These are the 5th gens. They go from 2010 to 2024. So I'll show you all the tools, I'll show you the process as well, so let's get right to it. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is just clean the exterior glass. Now even if the car came to you clean, I still want to do this. I just want a clean surface. If you own a detailing shop, this could be a good opportunity to upsell maybe a car wash with it. So I went and grabbed my film. I used a 20-inch wide roll in this case. I used to always buy 40-inch roll and just split it down the middle, which works as well, but 20-inch is pretty friendly to use on most side windows. The first thing I like to always do is just trim some of the extra. And the reason I do that is when you have less loose film, you're less likely to cause creasing. So I like to just remove all that stuff out the way. Now I'm going to use my marker. We're just tracing out my lines. This is just my guide so that next when I bring it to the cut board, I will know what I have to remove. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and roll my window down about 2-3 inches. Now in this case, I do have a rain guard on this window, which is not a huge deal. We just got to work around it. Now if you look towards that mirror there, we get a lot of scrunching of that film, which is fine. But you do have to be mindful you don't want to crease anything. Now I'm coming here to trim some of the extra film again. This is not the final top edge cut. This is just me removing film. I like to have my film taut to the glass. I think that when you run a razor blade along the top edge, you get a cleaner cut by just having that film nice and taut. So there's a reason for every step in this. And this is just me putting my hard car to make that film tight to the top edge. From here, I just poke in, ride the glass all the way through, and remember to use nice fresh tips when you're doing this cut. Now my cut board is on my wall, but if you have it on a rolling board, it's nice. Now if you notice, when I make my cut, where I place my ruler is actually not right on the line that I drew. It's just about 1/8 of an inch to the outside. And the reason I do that is because I want a little bit extra film on both sides. The left, the right, and the bottom, because I want to tuck something in. The idea is to not have any light gaps showing through. So you want to cut a little bit more than you need. Now if you cut too much, it can become a problem as well, and obviously too little is just not going to work out. So I always go about 1/8 of an inch to the outside of where I drew that line, and then I go back and I just round on my corners. So I've always done it this way on a board. It works pretty well. I've seen people also do it directly on the car. I'm not a huge fan of cutting on the client's window. Now if you're using stainless steel blades, it's not supposed to cut a glass, but I have seen it scratch glass too. So that's the reason why I've eventually moved all my cutting to a cutting glass. So from there, we just finish rounding all those corners and then we bring it back to the car. So when I place my film on the glass here, I place it about 1 inch to 2 inches above that window trim. And that's just like where I like to place it. Now if you notice, I got all the water that was out behind there, and then I just come and I do a pass where the film ends. So that's when I'm shrinking there. I'm trying to see if this film is going to give me fingers. If it's a curvy glass, a lot of times the fingers will come up, and so you'll be aware that they're there and you got to address them. With a 4Runner like this one, usually they're not going to give you too many fingers because the glass is just quite flat. So what I did there is I actually went and lifted the film just so I could double shrink it. And that just allows me to just have that safety in mind that I am actually shrinking that film and making it just a little bit tighter near the gasket. I've gone to the inside now. I'm just going to clean my glass. If you notice, I always wipe my squeegee on my hand. I do that on purpose. I'm not going to wipe it on my shirt, for example, and just catch a bunch of contamination. So I like to just use my skin to clean that blade. I'm putting some slip back on the glass now. I'm getting ready to install. And I always wipe the door panel. Now you can always cover the door panel. It's a good idea to do so. I usually don't work with too much slip, and I always am mindful to wipe the door card down. So when I roll this window film down, I roll it down about 80% of the way down. And then I'm gonna apply slip to the film. I had applied slip to the glass. I also apply slip to the film. The way I'm gonna bring this over is I line myself up with the door and I just grab the top edge. When I bring this inside, I'm gonna use the long side where my left hand is and just get it touching the glass. What I want is just that film to be on the glass and hold itself. I shouldn't have to manage that film too much if I can just lay it on the glass, because the tint is essentially going to hold itself on the glass there. From here, it's just about sliding this film left to right and just getting it in place. When you're choosing your top alignment, it's really up to you how you want to place it. I like about 1/16 of an inch, just the narrowest gap I can have, but not so little that the film might roll over on itself as well when you roll that window up, which would cause it to fail, and eventually that client would come back for you to redo it. So I do leave a gap. Now my first squeegee that I used on the orange one there was just a light squeegee. It wasn't to really lock the film in place. It was just to remove some of the water behind the film so that I could get a better visual on what I have going on. And then from here, I'm gonna go ahead and use some slip. And now I'm using my Blue Max to extract a lot more water. If you notice, my left hand is kind of pressing against that right hand and that squeegee just so I have more extraction. And every time that I'm done doing a squeegee, I always tend to come back with my easy reach. Now we roll that window up. This is the part 2 of the 2-stage method. And I just roll that film up, clean it. Now removing the liner here, I just try to be careful. I don't really want that film to touch the door card. That would defeat the purpose and get it dirty. So we maintain control of that. Now there's a way that I do this here. I roll that side with an inward turn, and that's so that I do not crease. But if I can get that bottom left corner in behind that bottom gasket, I'm good to go. And then I just go to the right side and I essentially just do the exact same thing. Now sometimes, if you notice here, I'm using my easy reach, and that's just to open up the gasket a little bit more. I like to run my finger down the middle now and kind of create that bubble that you can see there. From there, just run your easy reach again and just feed it with your fingers. So 2-stage is quite easy. You just got to be gentle with the film not to cause any creasing. And obviously don't force anything behind a gasket. It has to fall behind the gasket on its own. That is how you cause it to not crease and have a good finish. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and spray this and just run my Blue Max one more time. Sometimes when I want to be extra sure, I will Blue Max once or twice. We're also in Minnesota, so the weather is a little bit colder, so I like to extract more. If it's summer, I'm very confident that it's gonna dry right away. So as you saw, that's quite a quick process. Doing 2 front windows should take you 20 to 30 minutes maybe. Once you're really used to doing it, it does take time and you will have to practice a lot. And that is how you tint a 2014 4runner using the 2-stage method.